Will Super Break survive 3.x? Let me get it out of the way to start. This is a question that, unfortunately, no one can be 100% sure about. The opinions which I will express in this video are exactly that, opinions, formed through educated guesses based off multiple factors. The topic of power creep in general has really reached a fever pitch as of late, and it's clear that people on all sides are quite defensive about the topic, regardless of their stance. But I digress, let's get into the video. Let's first get a baseline understanding of what Super Break is. As you're most likely aware, enemies have a toughness meter and several elemental weaknesses above their HP. Before the introduction of Super Break, breaking the enemy weakness via attacks or abilities of the same element was a means to do more damage. Enemies would take an instance of break damage. Their action would be delayed by 25%, and they would also be afflicted with an additional debuff based on the damage type that they were broken with. The most important part of this, however, was that when enemies are not weakness broken, all damage is multiplied by 0.9, meaning that breaking the weakness equates to 10% more damage at baseline. In 2.2, we got the release of Harmony Trailblazer, who introduced the Super Break mechanic. While their ultimate is active, attacking a weakness broken enemy or doing an attack which would break the enemy now does additional damage based off the character's level, the unit's break effect, and the toughness damage that would have been done with the attack. In addition to those I just mentioned, defense reduction, vulnerability debuffs, and defense penetration all scale this damage. Units like Runmei and Fugue with E1 give a very rare stat, weakness break efficiency, which increases the toughness damage that you do to enemies, therefore also increasing Super Break damage. This is the exact formula from the wiki, but what I just said is really all you need to know. Okay, let's get into why I think Super Break will still be extremely viable in 3.x. A primary reason why Break is so universally used is due to its flexibility. It is very common to see people use Firefly and Boot Hill in situations where they just don't have a team which counters the weakness or aren't sure what to really do. They serve as a one-size-fits-all for pretty much any situation. Even in fights where the unit may not have a fire or a physical weakness, there's pretty much no real downside to using them anyways, since they have access to weakness implant. Firefly specifically benefits tremendously due to her ability to weakness implant everything with her technique. This allows for her support units like Gallagher, or more importantly Ling Sha, to contribute significantly to overall team DPS. Even in situations where perhaps some units don't get implanted, Firefly Enhanced Skill, Rapper Enhanced Autos, and Fugue Ultimate are able to do something called Rainbow Toughness damage, meaning they will still do toughness damage regardless of whether the unit has the respective weakness or not. Another factor is that from a damage standpoint, even with the increased HP, break damage has held up extremely well. Boot Hill especially has been the king of zero cycle for single target situations for a good while now. Just look at the most recent Memory of Chaos. He's able to obliterate the 2.3 million HP Svarog when run with the sustainless double break comp, hitting for over a million HP at E1-S1. The addition of Fugue has switched up teams slightly. Having another unit provide us with even more super break damage has allowed people to go full glass cannon and do insane damage to keep up with the HP inflation without much trouble at all. Boot Hill is pretty much an apocalyptic shadow specialist. Firefly is truly the jack of all trades, being able to perform very well in almost all situations. And Rapper has benefited hugely from the release of Fugue, making her a guaranteed 40,000 points in Pure Fiction pretty much all the time. The bottom line is, as long as units are able to be weakness broken, which is a core mechanic of the game by the way, Super Break teams will always have a spot in the meta. Okay, so what are the arguments against Super Break teams? As I literally just mentioned, as long as units are able to be weakness broken, Super Break will always be good. However, Hoyoverse has begun experimenting with bosses which change how toughness is interacted with. Ironically, Sam is a great example of a boss which attempts to somewhat counter break units by completely locking their toughness bar in specific phases. The recent Blaznana monkey trick has made it so that toughness reduction is actually tied to the smaller units, using a tally system, which instead incentivizes units which attack often with large AoE, which admittedly is Rapper's niche, but you kind of get the point. It's very likely that Hoyo will continue to play around with these boss mechanics and inadvertently make break teams less viable over time. There has never been a boss which does not have any toughness at all, and like I said, weakness break is a core part of Honkai Star Rail's combat system, so it's unlikely that break will ever be truly phased out by a boss mechanic, but you can never say never. The next point is the future. As of right now, we only have kit information on 3 upcoming units. Agliaia is the first premier summon DPS. Tribi is leaked to be the follow-up DPS support hybrid, and My Day is looking to be Blade 2.0, a HP scaling DPS. As of right now, we don't know what the future brings for break teams in terms of units. If we don't see additional break supports or a new break DPS, the power level of break will most likely stay the same, which at the moment is extremely high. But Hoyoverse has apparently, based off leakers, confirmed that they have some plans to buff dot damage, and they are obviously going to be pushing for the summon meta, as this is the shiny new toy. This may mean that break is kind of left to chill for a while, which may or may not be a bad thing. Lastly would be the classic Hoyoverse endgame trap. They will always tailor their endgame content to the most recently released units. They've been doing this since the beginning and will undoubtedly continue to do so. It won't be surprising to find out that some patches will just favour certain units so heavily that it may push break units down the totem pole, at least temporarily. But what does this mean in the end? Patch 3.0 is fast approaching. If like me and many others you have well invested break teams and enjoy the playstyle, I don't see us shelving these units for a significant while longer, so don't stress out too much and get baited by all the power creep doomers. If you've just started, or you skipped the break meta entirely, I would say don't feel pressured into pulling for Fugue or Firefly because you feel like you may be missing out. The upcoming units are looking to be quite strong and super fun. Dive into those units without any fear and you'll be completely fine for 3.x. And that's it. Whatever you choose to do, best of luck and enjoy 3.0 my friends. I'll be making more content, so don't forget to like and sub, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.